Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. I'm stepping into the role of your strategic business consultant right now because we're looking at a massive, massive opportunity that honestly, so many food manufacturers completely misunderstand. Today, we're going to totally demystify gluten-free certification. We're going to look way beyond the typical regulatory headaches and see this for what it truly is, a highly lucrative B2B investment. If you're aiming to get your products onto the shelves of premium supermarkets in North America and Europe, wrapping your head around this strategy is absolutely vital. So, let's get into it. Right out of the gate, let's talk about this number, 18%. Up to 18% of the global population has some level of gluten sensitivity, and 1 in every 100 people has full-blown celiac disease. This isn't just some passing niche dietary trend, right? This represents a massive, highly dedicated consumer base. We're talking about consumers whose actual health depends on strict adherence to a gluten-free diet. Because of that, they represent a high-margin market that is fiercely loyal to the brands they know they can trust. It's a huge opportunity. So here's our roadmap for today's Explainer. We'll be looking at the export ticket, the incredibly strict 10 ppm standard, how to actually choose a certifier, the 6-step process, and finally, we'll tackle the ultimate enemy, cross-contamination. All right, starting with Section 1, the export ticket, your passport to premium sales. For QA managers and executives out there who are looking to expand globally, we need to completely reframe how we look at the certification. It's not just another frustrating regulatory hoop to jump through. Think of it as your passport to premium supermarket chains and significantly higher profit margins. Top-tier retailers and specialty health food stores across the globe, they require this independent, third-party verification before you can even get your foot in the door for a meeting. Achieving this elite standard elevates your entire brand's positioning. It basically screams to the market that your manufacturing is world-class, letting you target those loyal, health-conscious consumers who are more than happy to pay a premium price for guaranteed safety. Now, to truly appreciate the challenge we're up against, we need to understand the adversary. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye that compromises the body's ability to digest, which leads to debilitating illness for folks with celiac disease. But here's the tricky part. It's not just the obvious ingredients. There are so many hidden vectors out there. Things like rye, triticale, spelt, farina, and kamut that can so easily slip into a facility unnoticed. This is exactly why maintaining incredibly strict control over your entire supply chain is an absolute non-negotiable. Which brings us right into Section 2, the 10 ppm standard, a threshold that is literally twice as strict as the FDA. Take a look at the stark contrast we're dealing with here. Standard government rules, like the FDA standard in the US or the Codex standard put out by the World Health Organization, they allow up to 20 parts per million of gluten. But the elite premium certification standards we're focusing on today, they demand a threshold of less than 10 parts per million. That is double the strictness of the baseline government rules. So what does this actually mean for you? It means the stakes are incredibly high, and the margin for error is effectively zero. At less than 10 parts per million, a casual, relaxed approach to your manufacturing, or even a tiny minor oversight in a shared facility will absolutely tank your audit. You can't just slap gluten-free on a label and call it a day. You have to prove it through rigorous, sustained, everyday perfection. Let's move into Section 3, choosing a certifier. We'll explore your strategic options based on your current infrastructure, budget, and export goals. Okay, so this breaks down your 3 primary paths. Up top, we've got GFCO. They use a super strict 80-point standard and happen to be the largest and fastest growing certifier in North America, so absolutely ideal if you want maximum global recognition. Then we have SCS Global. They use risk-based on-site and virtual audits, which is perfect for international retail that demands best-in-class testing practices. And finally, there's STCVN and ISC Global. This is a highly effective independent verification option that still uses incredibly strict criteria, making it a brilliant fit for domestic markets or honestly as a strategic stepping stone to perfect your systems before you take the leap to global. I do want to throw in a quick word of caution here, just being completely transparent with you. While that local verification through STCVN or ISC Global is fantastic for optimizing your costs and really dialing in your processes, they use their own independent seal. It is not the internationally recognized GFCO or SCS logo. So if your ultimate end goal is to have those specific global logos on your packaging to win over North American or European retailers, you will eventually have to pursue direct certification with GFCO or SCS. Okay, on to Section 4, the 6-step process. let's map out your path to certification and get your QA and QC teams prepped for the exact journey ahead. Here is the 6-step roadmap from start to finish. Step 1 is registration, simply applying with the certifier. Then we hit step 2, the ingredients assessment, where every single supplier document you have is going to be heavily scrutinized. Step 3 is gluten testing for both raw materials and finished products. Step 4 is the really heavy lift, the on-site or virtual audit, making sure you have complete facility segregation. If you pass all that, you finally reach step 5, certification. But it doesn't just stop there. Step 6 is renewal, which requires ongoing annual evaluations and sometimes even quarterly testing just to maintain your elite status. Let's look a little closer at step 3 because the testing requirements are incredibly stringent. Certifiers are going to demand trusted methodologies, things like ELISA testing, utilizing AOAC certified test kits, or relying entirely on ISO accredited labs. And get this, certifiers like GFCO actually go a step further. They require what's called proficiency testing, meaning they don't just test your food, they test the actual competency of your internal factory lab staff to make 100% sure they are fully capable of executing these tests accurately. No pressure, right? Which brings us to section 5, cross-contamination. This is the invisible enemy, kind of the final boss that causes so many well-intentioned manufacturers to fail their audits. We have to learn to visualize the invisible. You see, cross-contamination doesn't usually happen because someone accidentally poured a giant bag of wheat into the wrong mixer. It's way more subtle. It happens because of invisible airborne flour dust floating across the factory floor. It happens because of improperly cleaned shared equipment. It happens simply because a worker walked from a gluten handling area straight into a clean area, bringing microscopic traces right along with them. To fight this invisible enemy, QA teams have to build 4 solid pillars of defense. First up, segregation, both physical segregation and workflow segregation of your space. Second, sanitation. You need extremely strict cleaning validation, verified by swabs. Third is input control. That means you ruthlessly audit your supplier's documents before those materials even enter your loading dock. And fourth, precise traceability. You need to be able to track every single internal movement and isolate any potential issues the second they happen. Ultimately, though, human behavior is the deciding factor in all of this. You can have the most perfect, bulletproof process mapped out on paper, but it is absolutely meaningless if your workers on the floor don't understand it or follow it. Continuous, rigorous training for your QA and QC teams, your line technicians, and especially your sanitation staff is totally vital. They are your frontline defenders protecting that 10 part per million threshold. So I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to take back to your executive teams. Is your business truly ready for the 10 parts per million threshold? Achieving this elite status takes deep investment, rigorous training, and an unwavering commitment to quality every single day. But the reward? The reward is unlocking some of the most lucrative, incredibly loyal consumer markets in the world. So evaluate your readiness, choose the right strategic path, and elevate your manufacturing to the global stage. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.